Need some water. Where'd my sound go? Oh, dang it. Oh, seriously? In this hot ass weather? How am I gonna do this? You know, it's already bad enough that if you wear leather headphones while gamers sweating, you're gonna just smell like rotten beef. And most people seem to forget that that does happen to your PC also. Well, except they don't smell like rotting beef, but instead just set on fire. So today, to beat the Philippine heat, I am going to overcool my PC. Screw you overclockers. I care about my PC's health, and I'm gonna show it to you in this video. Also, before you freak out, no, I did not break these earphones for this video. It actually just broke last night, so I decided to do that. So we're going to take cooling to the next levels in this video. But first, I just want to mention I'm not going to be running the insanely outrageous benchmarks like Cinebench or Furmark and all that stuff. Mostly because you're not going to be pushing your graphics card or your CPU to its furthest limits anyway most of the time. Then again, it depends what you play, but you know. So I'm gonna keep it more realistic and play normal games like, I don't know, Minecraft, Borderlands 3 and stuff like that. Again, naturally, you're not going to push your hardware to its maximum all the time. You're gonna want to let it lay low for a bit. So that's how we're going to approach this video. So first, let's test out my PC with the Johnsbro CR1200. I mentioned this cooler in a YouTube short way back then, and it costed me $10. This CPU cooler was intended for LGA 1200 and below. It doesn't really advertise going any higher into that, and that makes sense because it is just an entry-level CPU cooler. I'll show it to you later. So I'm going to use this as a baseline. Now, why am I mentioning the CR1200? Well, this is going to be our first step into cooling, and I'll explain more later why. So let's test it in a few CPU demanding games and a few GPU demanding games. Let's go. Minecraft, being a more CPU demanding game, should be a good test for our i5-11400F. With the Johnsbro CR1200 at room temperature with no fans in the room turned on, we get around high 60s to low 70s. The highest spike in temps in this bench was 77 degrees Celsius. Frame rates very inconsistent, but to be expected. We get around high 300s to low 600s. This is Borderlands 3 with these graphics settings. Borderlands 3 will be our game of choice for GPU tests. After our bench, our 4060 Ti averaged around 57 to 61 degrees. Temps were a little up and down, but that's fine. The highest recorded temp was 63 degrees. We will also be using the same data for the next bench since our next test only really affects the CPU, not our GPU. Okay, cool. So now we have our baseline numbers for GPU and CPU. Now, why exactly am I using the exact same data for my GPU test for the next experiment? Well, it's because it doesn't directly affect our GPU, only our CPU. Now, as you can see, I already took out all of the cables from my PC because we are going to be doing an upgrade. There we go. Whatever is in here is going to help us with cooling. And if it wasn't obvious, it may or may not be a CPU cooler. So let's go. Okay, I completely forgot about all this. So, if you didn't know, if you watched my video where I upgraded my PC fans, I kinda screwed up a lot of the cable management. You know what, I should probably fix this first, huh? Okay, we'll just do that. This might take a while and it's not the main focus of the video, so I'm just gonna like time-lapse it. Okay, well, I'll tell you now, it's definitely not great work, but it should do. Oh well, anyway, we don't need to worry about any of that, I guess. Now let's move on to the side panel. Okay, so right here is the Johnsbro CR1200, and we are going to be replacing this. With what, you ask? Let me show you. Yup, it is the one and only Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE. This is one of the best price to performance coolers you can get out there. While I unbox this cooler, I'll tell you more about it. For $34, you can get a 6-pipe dual fan cooler with included thermal paste. Like I said, arguably one of the best price to performance coolers out there. Capable of tanking of up to an advertised 245 watt TDP CPU. With noise levels of around 26 decibels at full load, it's very quiet. This cooler is compatible with multiple LGA generations and AM4 and AM5. And this right here is the haul. Let's unbox it. Notably, it has no RGB, but honestly, I prefer it that way.
And here's the very important peel you should remember to remove before you install this thing. And here are the double fans that it comes with. And we have a smaller box over here. This is the accessories package. This should have thermal paste and I think an adapter or something. And there we go, the accessories bag. So here are most of the things we're going to need. We're going to need this for the fans. We're going to need the brackets, of course. And here are the 4 clips for the fans. Here we have LGA 1700 for 12 gen and above Intel CPUs. And here we have LGA 1200 and below, usually for Intel CPUs that are 11th gen and below. So we're going to be using this one. Here are also some of the brackets used. These are the AM4 and AM5 brackets. So this is for AMD, this is 1700, and this is what we're going to use. So let's get this build started. Now we are going to need to uninstall our Johnsbro CR1200 first. So let's do that. Okay, initially we can pull out the holding pins first. If we do the rest, this should just come out on its own. Just use some alcohol to wipe you clean. Wow, it's really dirty. Hold on. This is what happens when you buy cheap thermal paste, guys. Don't do that. I'm just gonna release the arm for a bit. Actually, we're just gonna take it out of its socket. Dude, the IHS is so dirty. Okay, you know what? I don't have to clean the entire IHS, but there you go. Let's just put it back in. Right in there. So this is supposed to be a sticky material, so it goes at the back. Let's do that. Someone please sponsor me a bigger table.
You know, if my PC boots right up after this, I'm gonna be very surprised.
So the bracket should just go like this, basically. Once we have all that, we're gonna get our LGA like brackets here. We're gonna be using these ones. These are Intel. Okay, so the first step is to get one of these standoffs and just put them in each one of the holes. And then we get our Intel brackets and then just put them on like right there. It should be in this orientation with the screw facing up. And then we just put it like that. All right, nice and tight. All right, so now we get our pre-included tube of thermal paste. And let's paste. Let's just do a little P dot. And we still got plenty of thermal paste to spare. Okay, so now the most important step. You remove the sticker. And then we just do this. So when you're installing a tower, you typically want to do the same amount of turns on each side. Don't over tighten one side and then tighten the other immediately. You kind of want to take turns here. Okay, there you go. Nice and seated. So that is the tower done. Now we're going to do our fans. We are going to do a push-pull setup. So our fans should look like, oh, not that way, like this. So now get your fan and one of your brackets. Actually, 2 of them. We clip them on like this and then we just hang it from the cooler. And there we go. We have our fans installed. So all that's left is to use this extension cable. But now that might be a little bit of an issue because it's way in there. Well, thank God that's over. Anyway, we can finally plug both of these in. Oh my God, my cable management is so cooked.
Well, after that painstaking effort, here we go. We're done. Now let's see if it'll boot up.
I beg the lords above. Oh, frick.
God dang it.
Always happens. Can we get the windows? Can we get the windows? Yeah! There we go. There's the Peerless Assassin 120 SE. Replacing our Johnsbro CR1200. Let's see. Sorry.
Let's see how it is now. With the Peerless Assassin 120 SE, we were getting around 47 to 52 degrees. Way better than the CR1200. We only received a spike of up to 59 once during the benchmark. I am very shocked by these results. It really goes to show that you can go a long way with a better cooler and thermal paste.
So there were clear improvements. But now, that's not enough. I want to see more. I want to see true cooling power at the grasp of my hand. We're taking it a step further.
You know, you can call me an overcompensator because nobody does this at all. So we're gonna try it. And now that we have one external fan blowing the might of Animoid directly at our PC, we received a similar but smaller average temps in our benchmark for Minecraft at 44 to 55 degrees, and a way lower highest recorded temp of 52 degrees. Impressive. Likewise, Borderlands 3 was very similar, with of course slightly lower than before temps. I guess blowing the might of the wind gods at it isn't really doing anything, huh? Let's try harder. Well, that sucked. Only a few degrees difference. You know what? I think it's time to up our game a bit. Alright, so if this isn't enough to get me to 30 degrees Celsius on both GPU and CPU, then nothing will. Except for this, maybe. Well, if you read the numbers, the results were kinda diarrhea. FPS actually kinda dropped here, but then again, Minecraft's FPS is fairly inconsistent. In conclusion, adding 2 more fans doesn't really do anything. If anything, it might have just made it worse. Same goes with our Borderlands 3 benchmark. Again, straight up diarrhea. Even our peak temps increased. Ah, f it. I quit.
Well, now I kinda appreciate the previous benchmark a little more now, because clearly adding 2 more fans doesn't really do anything. Well, that's mainly because the room temperature is still the same, so it's finally time to bring out the big guns, I suppose. Well, now that it's been a few minutes, the room is decently cold now. At least it should be 24 degrees. So, we're gonna see what happens now to our temps.
Now that's the improvement I would expect from the AC. We pretty much lowered our average temps way below our previous bench from 47 to 50 to 42 to 45. Our peak recorded temp was 48 degrees, definitely not bad. I will also mention, before running the test, both GPU and CPU were idling at around 35 degrees. Damn, FPS is still basically the same and consistent, by the way, but that doesn't really matter. I was super impressed with Borderlands 3, once again destroying the old benchmark from 56 to 61 to 49 to 51. Our highest recorded temp was 54 degrees, absolutely demolishing the previous 63 degrees. But FPS still seems to be the same. I guess temps only help with FPS by a very small amount, at least in my case. So, what can I conclude from this video? Well, from what I can tell, the best thing that improved temps here was swapping the CPU cooler. Like, okay, we got down like, what, 10 degrees further with the AC on and stuff like that, but realistically, you're not gonna be doing that with your PC. So upgrading from the CR1200 with like 10 cents worth of thermal paste to the Peerless Assassin 120 SE is probably the thing that influenced temps a lot. I mean, I was already surprised when I got up for the benchmarks for it. Again, the fans and the AC did help, but realistically, we're not doing that. So this was really a nice experiment to try, especially since we hit around, what, like 35 degrees on both CPU and GPU. That was just crazy because I've never seen temps go that low before. But yeah, I guess that does it for this experiment video. I really do love making videos like this, so that's why I do them often. And just trying out new things and also upgrading to new things. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Thank you guys so much again for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're just trying to make it to 3,000 subscribers at this point. I appreciate you guys. See you in the next video.